Students, in my previous video, I had told you people that in my next video we are going to take up the poem On His Blindness, and I had dealt with the introductory part in the previous video. So today we are going to start with the text. On His Blindness by John Milton. When I consider how my light is spent ere half my days in this dark world and wide, and that one talent which is death to hide. See, in the introductory part, I had told you people that Milton became blind at the age of 44 years. So, this poem was written by him after he became completely blind. And here I would like to tell you people that he used to dictate whatever thoughts came in his mind, and his daughter used to write for him. So here in the very beginning of the poem, the poet is in a quite melancholic mood. He is quite, you can say, sad over the fact that he has lost his eyesight. In the very first line, he says, "When I consider how my light is spent." Now, here the speaker is considering how he has spent the years of his life, and here light represents his eyesight. He says that when he looks at the time span that he has spent up till now, ere half my days before, ere here stands for before, half my days. See, normally the lifespan of a person is considered to be that of 80 years. So he became blind at the age of 44. So he says, only half of my life span has been covered up till now, and my light, my eyesight is all spent, is all gone. So when I consider, when I just look at this fact, what I feel in this dark world and wide, the whole world appears to be dark and wide to me, and that one talent which is death to hide. He says, when at this juncture, after losing my eyesight, I just look back at the time that I spent when I had my eyesight, I feel that the world appears to me very wide and dark. And in such a situation, I just remember that I have one talent, obviously the poetic talent. He says, there is this one talent with me which God has conferred upon me, which is death to hide. And he says, this talent is so obvious in my personality. Perhaps it is, you can say, not the part of my personality, rather the whole personality is being reflected by that one poetic talent. So it is like death for me if I hide it, if I stop writing poetry. So in the very beginning, we can say that he is in a sad mood, in a melancholic mood, in a pessimistic mood, and he is considering the fact that only half of his lifespan has been covered and he has lost his eyesight. Still, there is one thing which he feels noteworthy, and that is his poetic talent, which perhaps he cannot hide from anyone. Lodged with me useless, though my soul more bent to serve therewith my Maker and present my true account, lest he returning chide. See, he is simply giving all sorts of these arguments to his own self. Perhaps he is having a sort of, you can say, dialogue with his own soul. He says, that talent, that poetic talent, it appears to me, it appears to him as if that has been lodged with him, that has been attached with him uselessly. He says, now that is appearing useless to me because I cannot write anymore. However, he says his soul is more bent to serve therewith my Maker. He says, I have all the desire, all the wish to serve my Maker, to serve God. Whatever talent, whatever gifts I have received from God, I simply want to make use of them to serve God and present my true account. And he says, I simply want to just uh, tell God what actually is happening in my life. And the only way that he has is by writing poetry. But now, as he has been rendered blind, as he has become blind, that talent has been rendered as useless. It appears useless to him. So he says, although that poetic talent has now become useless for me, still my soul has the utmost desire to serve God, who is my Maker. And how am I going to serve him? I simply want to present my true account, whatever achievements, whatever desires, hopes, aspirations I have in my life. I simply want to share them with God, lest he returning chide. He says, otherwise, when I will return to God, obviously after death, he says, when I will return back to God, he'll chide me, he'll scold me. This is all the imagination of the poet. See, none of has got any true account of what happens after life, but this particular line tells us that he had strong belief in the biblical fact of free birth. He says, when I will go back to God, and on the judgment day, when he will be having the true account of my doings and do's and don'ts, and he'll be just deciding the future course for me, at that time I feel that perhaps he will chide me, because I at present I'm not in a position to use the gift given by him. Doth God exact day labor, light denied? I fondly ask, but patience to prevent, that murmur soon replies. So when he is having this sort of mental conflict, he says, perhaps he's giving arguments to his own self, and he says, whether God exactly expects the same thing from a person who has become blind as he is expecting from one who has got the eyesight. See here, day labor stands for the person who has got the eyesight, and light denied stands for blind people. He says, does God want the same amount of labor, same amount of efforts from the person who has become blind as he is expecting from the person who has got eyesight? This sort of conflict is going on in his mind. I fondly ask, I ask myself, he is asking his own self. And at such a juncture, what comes to his aid? It is his patience. He says, patience to prevent. That murmur soon replies. He says, when I am facing such kind of conflict in my mind, in such a situation, my patience comes to just help me. And that murmur, that small voice of the soul that soon replies, that gives the reply. And what is the reply? God doth not need either man's work or his own gifts. He says, my patience tells me that God does not need anything his from his you can say child, because we all are the children of God, we all have been made by God. So he says, God does not need, it's my patience which tells me that God does not need anything from man, neither his work nor his own gift. Who best bear his mild yoke, they serve him best. So those people who are happy with whatever he has given him, whatever God has given him, and who are just leading their life without any complaints, exactly they are the best servers. Those who people have patience, those who people are just waiting for their chance, those who don't have any complaints for against God, actually they are the ones who are bearing his mild yoke, who are bearing the responsibilities given by the God, and they are the best servers of God. Sorry. His estate is kingly. See, God is king of kings. He doesn't need anything. Actually, he's the one who made everyone. So how could we, who are the, you can say, mere puppets in the hands of God, how can we do anything for him, anything which perhaps he's expecting? Simply God is expecting us to do whatever roles he has assigned for us. That is the responsibility of man, and man can serve God only in this way. We cannot do whatever is happening in this world. It is just because of the desire of God wanted that to happen like that, so that's what is happening. So he says his state is kingly. God is like king, thousands at his bidding speed. There are thousands of angels who are ready to just carry out his orders. They are ready to just carry out his bids and post over land and ocean without rest. And they have the powers, they can cross lands and oceans without taking rest. So they also serve who only stand and wait. So they are also the servers who only stand and wait for their chance. So God is like king, and there are thousands of angels who are ready to carry out his orders, and angels have special powers. They can cross lands and the ocean in no time. So his patience, the patience of, you can say, Milton, it answers back that it is the duty of man to wait for his chance, because surely God has decided something for all of us, and we all have just to abide by, we have just to obey whatever orders has God given us. So those are the best servers of God, who just stand patiently and wait for their chance. So throughout the poem, we can say that though the poem started on a very pessimistic note, on a sad note, but it ended with optimism. In the very beginning, the poet is troubled because he is blind and he cannot do like he wanted to serve God, but he feels that now he cannot do anything. In such a situation, his own patience comes to help him, and it tells him that there is nothing which is in the hands of man. We all are the puppets of God. So whatever is happening in one's life, it is because of God wanted it to happen. So one can serve God just by waiting patiently for one's chance to serve. So students, that's all for today. In the next video, we'll be taking up the next poem.